guys. Welcome back to another episode of Diary of a Black Entrepreneur. I am your entrepreneur and host, Mary Elizabeth Taylor Jr., and let's get into another episode. This episode is just going to recap the earlier part of last year where I decided I was going to take a pause from the channel and I'm going to get into why. So, your girl went to court. So, not me going to court, more like I took someone else to court. And before I get into that, I'm just going to get into a couple of big ticket items that this court process sort of highlighted for me, and why they are important to your business. When you are filing with your Secretary of State, whatever state that you are in, make sure that you file the correct name, the name that you want. Naturally, it's going to sort of process and eliminate names that have already been taken by other businesses, but make sure that you are sticking with a name that makes sense for you so that everything that you tie your business to will make sense going forward. I'll get into why that's important later. When you are in contract with anyone, whether that be just doing a project with someone, whether that be renting space, whether that be a commercial lease, anything of the sort, make sure that you are reading contracts. My biggest thing, if you're not familiar with PCs or like Windows, is Control F or Control Find. It has saved me more times than I care to count because it allows me to sort of break down some of these larger documents so that I'll know exactly how to digest the contract. Because when you're looking at 10 pages and you just sign it, you don't really know what you're looking at. So definitely, if it's a hard copy, upload it into your, like scan it in, upload it to your Word doc or whatever, do a control find, fish through that thing. If it's a PDF that they sent to you electronically, same thing. Fish through it, make sure you understand it, never sign something right away, make sure you read it first, give yourself a couple days to process it. If you have a lawyer, have your lawyer read it. I don't, so I control find my way through it. So definitely do that. And keep all your receipts is that last thing. Definitely keep your receipts because you never know when they'll come in handy. I'm talking about emails, text messages, pictures, any kind of communication that you are in with business. Keep those receipts. Keep those receipts because you never know when you might need them or when they might become relevant in conversation, or in my case, when you might need to take someone to court. Before I get into the story itself, another big ticket item when it comes to just suing people. Obviously, suing people is not fun, but we're not children anymore, so you can't just take people outside, and scrap it out. As adults, when you have disagreements and you can't come to a conclusion about things, the next thing to do is to take legal action. So, unfortunately, in my case, I did have to take that step, or I felt it was needed to take that step because of the situation that I was put in. There's a help desk, or it should be at your courthouse, so they can kind of walk you through it. But the biggest thing is just knowing who you're suing. So, back to when I was saying you never know what information you might need. At some point along the way, I've told myself I need to stay 10 steps ahead because if you're not, best believe the person that you're working with is. So if you stay 10 steps ahead, you'll never know when that preparation might come in handy. In this case, having that preparation came in handy for me because when I go into business, I always want to let myself be aware of what all players are involved with that. Who works for what, who does what, paying attention to all of these things, right? Because they'll help you later on down the line. So, why did I find myself in court in the first place? Well, the reason for that being is the studio space that I was renting in. I had reached out to the manager, who doesn't actually own the space but sort of handles the day to day, pretty much saying that I'm not sure as far as if I'll continue with the space or what that looks like for me because I was making a lot of changes with work. And I needed it to make sense if it was going to continue to be a part of my journey. So that's where it all started. From there, it led to that same particular manager reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, we found someone to rent your space. We want you out in 30 days." Even though the contract says that you have 60 days before you can vacate a space. So that's pretty much how that whole thing started. Ended up in court because when I am told that someone wants to rent a space and they do it with such haste, I don't know any other response to that than to take action. So what I did was I found a storage unit, I found a moving situation, and I started to get together my things as quickly as possible so that I can be out in 30 days. Because I'm like, at this point, the other tenant is like messaging me saying things she want to buy. There's already been a tour of my space. So the idea for me is that, oh, I need to be out as soon as possible because that's how quickly they're trying to rent this space out. So I gathered up my things, moved out, sent pictures, everything, saying, hey, moved out, here's the key, I'm gone. So I received a message pretty much saying that, oh, I'm not sure why you left, sort of thing. Um, the other person decided to drop out. So if you can stay, or you're welcome to stay if you want to, that sort of thing. And I'm like, well, I've already moved out. I already got storage unit. So, the space is free for whoever to move in there. I'm requesting my deposit. You have to have 30 days is required for you to get a return deposit. I was like, I'm willing to wait for 30 days, but here's the proof that I have left. So I get a return response pretty much saying, oh, we're going to put your deposit toward that last month so we can close out your contract that way. And I was like, well, no, because I'm not there anymore. So we're just going to return that because I'm not paying for a space that I'm no longer in. And I'm not about to move my things back in there for a month and then move back out again. Doesn't make any sense. So we could not reach an agreement. The messages went on and on for days, and it led to me having to take them to court. Earlier, I mentioned about when you are creating your legal name with the Secretary of State and understanding who you are suing. So, first things first with that is I didn't realize in the contract that technically I wasn't actually in business with this place. Here's why. The name that they decided to write down in the contract is not the name that I am legally under. So technically, I didn't have to pay them anything for the 2 years that I was there because they had me registered under the incorrect business. So if I were to leave at any point, they wouldn't actually be able to take me to court because they weren't legally registered with my LLC. Secondly, when I took them to court, I didn't realize at first what name I should put down. So like I said, with courts, they'll have help desk and all those kind of things, but they don't understand what your situation is. That's why I say it's important for you to say 10 steps ahead. So you know how the groundwork is supposed to be laid out. So when I went to court the first time, how it works if you've never been to court or never been on the suing end of court is there's a total of two continuances before a case is finalized, meaning if something is wrong on my side, I can dismiss. If something is wrong on their side, they can dismiss. So because I had the wrong name, I had to dismiss the first case and then put the correct name. He did show up, but I had to put the correct name under there. But then the second time, his main witness, who was the manager that I put, she was sick, so he had dismissed. But the final time, it was like, hey, is your party here? Is your witness here? Are we ready to go? So if that did not fall through, then I would have to start the entire process over again, which I did not want to. Here is where they made their first mistake. The judge asked specifically, so the name that I had put was not their correct business name. So the judge asked if they wanted to continue the case under that name, and they said yes to get it over with. Here's why that was a mistake. At that point, I was really exhausted. So if there was any other disruption or anything, I would have just said forget it. They probably should have took the out and said, hey, we're actually just going to dismiss. Because they didn't, they left me with the opportunity to present all of my facts with everything that I had because I was very organized. Here's yours, here's mine, there's the judges. I was ready to go. And this was over a span of 3 months. So I'm exhausted. I want to get this thing aired out so that I can give my money back. Aired out my entire case. I'm like, here's all the facts. This is that and the third. I heard them on the other side saying we got this, but the conclusion was that I did win. So my first time suing someone in court, that was a little bit scary. I thought they were going to lawyer up, which they probably should, but they underestimated a little on me because they're like, this girl doesn't know what she's doing. So I'm sure we can just come in here and present our own case and we'll be fine. Pictures, emails, all the way since our first conversation when we first started the transaction, just keeping everything because I never know what I might need. And it all came in handy because the case ruled in my favor. So since then, I am not operating out of a studio anymore. I have not returned to that studio. Um, I even told them in the case that, I didn't have a problem with them or anything. It was just a simple fact that I felt like I had moved out. So I moved out of a space and you guys seem to be eager to rent it. I want my deposit back. So, that's what it came down to. And, they were trying to say things to like scare me and everything, which it was a very scary process because I was alone doing this. I had some support along the way. A family member was able to join me for one of the court dates. So that was really cool, just having that support. Getting my Annalise Keaton on, if you ever watch How to Get Away with Murder, but yeah, so very scary process, but if you can't handle a disagreement and it comes to, you feel like something was done unfairly, take them to court. It is something that you can do. You can use, my knowledge here. You can ask questions if you have additional questions behind um, just for your own experiences. We're happy to get behind you to support you in that process as well. Because, like I said, we're adults. We can't just fight things out in the street anymore. You gotta take people to court when you have a disagreement, and when you felt like you were done unfairly. But I want to say thank you guys for watching another episode, tuning in, allowing me to be transparent with you every single week. I got one more episode coming to you at the end of this month, next Monday. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But I will see you guys in the next episode.